Welcome back to the Forensics Unplugged or Forensics Detailing channel, which is potato can production. Probably go out on the Unplugged channel. Paint depth gauges. Now, these cheap, affordable paint depth gauges, which cost somewhere between 50 and 100 quid, maybe a bit more. I'm using the CEM DT156. Measure the overall paint system to your ferrous panel through all of the paint systems to the top, the clear coat basically. So you can measure your total e-coat, primer, paint, clear coat system. I'm going to sneeze. Oh no. Oh Jesus. I always get hay fever. So it's been calibrated. We'll just take a reading. And we have 131 microns of paint, various types of paint. Now, that's 131 thousandths of a millimetre, so 0.13 of a millimetre, roughly, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. So the paint system is very thin, and apologies for the sniffing. It's going to get boomed by the GoPro audio. Now, paint surveys. Should you polish your car without having a paint depth gauge? Well, the correct answer really is no, but everybody does. Everybody does. So with this particular car here, BMW, 131 microns of overall paint system is very healthy, and it probably means I've got about 50 microns of clear coat roughly. How much am I going to remove when I do a heavy cut on there? So many variables: pressure, what type of product you're using, what machine polish are you using, how hard the clear coat is, what the clear coat product is. Some are harder and softer, etc. Some are scratch proof. Let's say we're going to remove around 3 microns with a set of heavy cutting. So that will take us down to 47 microns of clear coat. How much clear coat should you remove from a car when you polish it? Well, the least amount possible, really, but you don't want to be hammering into it. You want to be very careful wet sanding on clear coat. If you've not done it before and you've not got paint depth gauges, you want to be very careful doing set after set with very aggressive heavy cutting compounds. If you go too low, you'll start getting little patches. Once you start running out of clear coat, you start seeing the old patch form, and if you keep going, then you'll get the old dry paint and you'll get transfer coming off in your pad. You need to be careful when you're polishing on sharp edges because there's less clear coat on them. So all things like that. Now, that's just giving you a ton of information on paint depth and all that sort of stuff. I just want to pop open my car. So that should be useful to you. Now, obviously, I've owned this car before, so 131 microns also tells me that probably no one's buffed on this car before. Now, I'm just taking a sanity reading in here, although this could be, this could throw up all sorts of, shenanigans. Oh, come on. It's because it's not quite flat. 98. So there's less overall paint system in there, in that door, than there is on the car. Now, just forgive me, guys, because I'm sniffing. Unfortunately, I'm atopic, which means I'm sensitive to tree pollen and dust and all that sort of stuff. So that's why you always see me sniffing. Hopefully, I don't have a big grolly hanging out my nose now. Now, the purpose of a paint depth survey on the car is to identify low clear coat, really, or areas of concern. If you're a bit more, some people might say. Now, I already know this car. Now, I think I'm going to find with this, it's going to be the same overall system. Yeah, 125, 123, 127. Great. There's this wing here, 127 has not been touched. And this bonnet here has not been touched. Okay, 151, but here's some high and low spots. Someone here, I don't know if you can see that, you can, can't you? It's had a bit of bird etching and someone's just bashed it with like a tissue or something and scratched the hell out of the paint. 145, but there's plenty of clear coat. I don't have to worry about this wing, this bonnet, or this wing here, because I can see It's completely original. Interesting, this slightly more clear on the bonnet because it probably just falls better on a horizontal bonnet. Now this has been resprayed. This is plastic, so I can't measure it with this system, but it's got fresh clear on it, and I am going to be wet sanding some of the horrible peel off of this. So I'm done with the front of the car. There's my intense paint depth survey, and I haven't taken 5,000 readings, and I haven't written anything down. I'm just going to take one in the middle there. Yeah, fine. Because I've already eyeballed it. And I only need to take one or two. Now we're just going to have a quick look on the roof. This is all good. 140. 125. Oh, what's going on there? Sometimes it's just bizarre. Oh, it kicks back in the moment I take it off. 147, 146, 143. The roof has not been painted, okay? I've eyeballed all this car. 122, 128, fine. 140. 122. The count. Yeah, these are common areas to have been repainted. Yeah, well, that's interesting. Lower clear coat on these pillars, but hasn't been repainted. But that's something, good example of where you need to just be a little bit more careful. A 90 reading came up then, but we're back at 127 down here. 107, so a little bit lower there, but it hasn't been refinished or anything like that. That's just the sort of variation you can get. This roof is very consistent. Very good. I like BMW. I like BMW paintwork because it looks really glossy. So much glossier than, I think, than its VAG rivals, which still look good and have less peel, but I want clear coat on a car. 123, 126, 148, it's quite high. 144, fine. Now, John, you could have missed a little spot repair, you know, like you need to go through and do loads of readings on each panel. No, I don't. I've looked at the car. I know it hasn't been painted, apart from the front bumper. So basically, I am good to just go and start polishing this car with no areas that I need to be concerned about, with the caveat that I can't measure the paintwork on the rear bumper or the front bumper. Front bumper is repainted, rear bumper is original paint. I always tend to go a bit easier with my polishing on those parts. The front bumper of a car, this is another interesting area. Turn off your swine. The front bumper of the car, this is going to get chewed up. Within a week I'll have a stone chip, and then another week later I'll have another stone chip, and in a year's time it'll be peppered. So I'm never worried about perfection on the front of this car. I'm never worried about perfection anyway. All I'm going to be doing is polishing this reasonably quickly and hitting the main areas, wet sanding out these top bits to get some of the peel out in these sections here, and then buffing as best I can that bumper. We won't be taking that front number plate off. You know, we're not going to be worrying too much about all these tight areas under there and all that. I've done it before, but we're just going to be polishing this as best we can. The paint survey is very important if you're a professional, because you could get caught out if you don't do it. But the reality is, if you're paying someone to have a detail on your car, you don't want them messing around for too long, unless it's a very, very valuable car. You know, in fact, that's the good caveat there. I don't script any of these videos, so you often need to correct myself. If it's a very valuable car, you know, and you're paying a lot of money for a detail, you might want them to take a half an hour to 1 hour survey of the paint and record all of the readings and take multiple readings and build like a picture of the car up and then record them at the end. But if I was paying someone to detail this car, I'd want them to just do what I've done, take 10-15 minutes out, check it, eyeball it, quick sanity check, and then get on polishing, because that's the most important thing, is the polishing time, especially if it's a day detail. So should you have a paint depth gauge? Ideally, yes, even if you're not a professional, it's a good thing to have. If you're buying a car, take one of these with you, quickly whiz round and see if they've repainted anything, especially if it's a bad day and bad light and you can't see it. It'll show you any areas of filler and stuff like that, so they're handy to have. Thanks for watching. See you soon on the Forensics Detailing channel. Have you got a paint depth gauge? Yes, no? Do you care? How you doing? See you later.